And a very good evening, everybody. Welcome into your box seat, brought to you in association with Sweet Lou, standing at Woodlands. Terrific week in harness racing we've just had. Another very good one ahead, Michael Guerin, and we're going to celebrate a milestone from a young lady today who was the second only to get past 300 wins. More about that in a moment. Evening to you.
Evening, Greg. Big hi to everybody. I hope your week has gone well as we get to Hump Day. It's a Great Northern Derby week, Greg, and even though this has been a relatively subdued carnival so far at Alexandra Park, one thing is for sure, the Derby always produces a great horse. There's no doubts about that. Whether it wins or not is another matter, but that's just the way the Derby rolls. But also a good chance tonight, as you said, with Samantha Ottley's milestone at Addington last week, 300 winning drives, becoming our second most successful ever driver, to talk about this wonderful Teal Pence campaign and the continued emergence and the way that the female drivers are having a far bigger impact in this country. So really nice conversation to get involved in with that Teal Pence campaign coming to an end this Sunday. Yeah, a lot to get through this evening, and of course we'll talk about Ali Mack's win in the Oaks. A very slow time compared to what we've had in the last 10 years, but we'll have a chance to have a chat about that. We'll talk about the Woodlands Derby, 102nd running of that great race, and it'll be well worth dissecting what happened in the prelude last week. We'll have the Young Guns finals, we'll have part 2 of Tim Butt. Of course, we caught up with him prior to the Miracle Mile, and we'll hear a little bit more about his operation and all the cup action around the country. And this bloke keeps tipping winners, which about time. Really, it's taken me a long time to catch up, Greg. Okay, let's get into Samantha Ottley and this performance of hers last week at Addington Raceway with Princess Holly, who actually was bred by our own Matthew Cross, trained by Mark Jones, who Samantha's become synonymous with over the last 3 or 4 seasons. And well, this win in the first race, she wanted to get this milestone out of the way, didn't want to be stuck on 2.99 for too long, and as she has done throughout her career, Michael, she doesn't do things by halves. Look, been a fantastic summer for her. Obviously she had the 5 at Timaru, which is rare air to be part of, but 3 on this occasion, also up to 302. Makes her, well, she was already the second most successful female driver we've had, but she's so young and she's overcome some setbacks. Who can forget her very harsh injury pre-Cup week a couple of years ago at Methven? Greg, you would suggest she's going to get to 500 easily if she doesn't have any bad luck and sticks around in the industry, which you would feel she's going to. And we're going to show you the list of the leading drivers of all time. And Nikki Chilcott's at the head of that list and still driving very well. Drove a winner at Alexandra Park on Friday night. But it'll be realistic for Sam in the back of her mind, Greg, with the numbers of drives she gets, to think, well, maybe that goal, because you've got to have goals, to one day become the most successful driver. And it's also good for Nikki to think, hey, here's a reason for me to keep pressing on. So a great conversation. But you caught up with Sam to talk about her latest milestone.
Well, congratulations, Sam. I know you wanted to get to this figure quicker than, or sooner rather than later, and you achieved that on Friday night.
Yeah, no, that's right, Greg. You know, huge milestone to achieve, and yeah, real pleased to get it here at Addington Raceway, and especially for Mark Jones. You know, he's done a lot for me in my career, and yeah, no, so very pleasing to get it for him.
Yeah, Princess Holly, early in the night, and not like you to just rest on your laurels. You managed to pick up 3, and yeah, to win it with one of his horses, given what he's done for you in the last couple of 3 seasons, that just makes it even more special.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, you know, I probably wouldn't be where I am today without the support from him and you know, a lot of other people out there. You know, I've got to, you know, I'd like to thank them all one by one, but you know, it's just not possible. But yeah, no, like, it's a huge team effort. Like, you know, the crew at Burnham, you know, there's lots of workers there that do all the work behind the scenes, and you know, I rock up race day and you know, jump on and you know, drive these winners, which you know, I wouldn't be able to do it without their help. And yeah, no, so huge thanks to all them, and you know, especially Mark.
Okay, so you're second on the all-time list, 300 wins, and you're about, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 away from what you achieved last year. Is that how you set about each season to try and better what you've done the previous year?
Yeah, I sort of, when I first started out driving, I always had a goal of just trying to beat last year's record, and yeah, like I'm ticking away all right. You know, mate, like you say, my overall best is about 59, I think. So I'd love to be able to beat that this year, and you know, if things keep ticking away like they are, hopefully I can achieve it.
Yeah, it certainly looks achievable at this stage, and further Group 1 success wouldn't go astray either, I'm picking.
Oh, that's most definitely, like, you know, that's what we strive to do, is get drives in those big races and you know, hopefully to pull it off. But yeah, no, so hopefully I can look to get a few more drives in, you know, bigger races this year, and hopefully the jewels and that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, congratulations on achieving what you have thus far. I know it's not over by any means, but to get there in such good fashion at the premier track as well would certainly worth acknowledging, so well done.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Greg.
Yeah, great to catch up with Samantha on Sunday. Gave her a couple of days to reflect on that. Kicked off her career, Michael, of course, driving for her mother, driving her first horse, Nigel Poole, winner. That was back in August of 2008. She's up over the 300 wins now. The 6th time she's driven more than 3 in a day. Obviously, the 5 at Farlap, as you mentioned earlier in January, was a massive highlight, as was winning with Rocker Band in the Harness Jewels at Cambridge. But she really has developed as a driver. Here's her biggest moment, if you like, driving the winner of the 4-year-old mare's Jewel. That was her in the Greg Brodie colours there. And yeah, she's developed as a driver earlier on in her career, and particularly at her time when she was at Robert Dunn's. She was a front of the field driver all of the time, but her skill level has developed, no doubt, and that comes about as much by her ability as the opportunity she's had.
Yeah, and I think patience is a really hard thing to develop. You don't meet many young drivers who are naturally patient. It's just not how people are when they're young. I mean, Dexter was a rare example of a person, but Dexter's a once-in-a-generation driver, maybe a once-in-a-century driver. With a girl, young lady like Sam now, it's showing how much female drivers have changed in this country. And I'll talk about this point blank honestly as a punter. 10 years ago, outside Nikki, occasionally Joe Herbert, Kirsten Barclay and Michelle Wallace, as a punter, I wouldn't back female drivers. Not because they weren't any good, but for a couple of reasons, and the percentages proved it to be right. They didn't very often get on good horses. A lot of them were front of the field drivers. Now, there's reasons for that, but I just think that was where they were perceived to be. But also, they didn't get respect from their male counterparts. And if you're not getting respect, you get attacked. Now, if I'm looking through a field and I see Samantha Ottley driving a horse or Cherie Tomlinson, I don't mark it as a negative at all. Often it's a +1. I look at a horse and give it a +1 if, for example, a Blair or Dexter's on it. And often I see the same thing there. Michelle Wallace drove a winner at Alexander Park the other day. Michelle only drives trotters, but I never look at it as a negative. And obviously people know my views on Natalie Rasmussen, who I think is at least as good a big race driver as I know in Australasia. And it's really important that we have that, because there's so much conversation in general society about the pay inequalities between males and females, Greg. But there's no pay inequality in harness racing between males and females. And in the gallops, you go to Ellerslie, $1 million races are regularly won by females. We've had Danielle Johnson 2 years ago won the Karaka Million. Obviously, Rosie Myers won the Karaka Million Classic just a few weeks ago. So it's always not bothered me, but I've always wondered why harness racing, which had such a strong female component through trainers like Julie DeFilippine, Lorraine Nolan back in the day and those sort of people, while we didn't catch up on the driving front. And it's quite satisfying now that we are. And I had a moment the other day which sort of...
You had a moment, Michael?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it, which made me sort of realise where this is starting from. I did the presentation for the kids' cars at Alexandra Park in between races the other night, and there was about 9 young drivers there, and I'm tremendously proud of them because they're young kids who learn how to act at an adult level of responsibility and look after things, because they have to look after their ponies and their gear and that sort of stuff. I reckon there was 9 youngsters in the presentation ceremony, and I think 7 of them were female. Now, when you look at that and you're saying to people, young females, you can come into this industry and you'll be treated with respect and responsibility and no different from the boys. It was really cool. So Kids Karts has a little bit to answer to for this and that progression through. I'm not sure how many of our drivers came through, but also role models.
Cherie and those type of people, absolutely.
But also role models. Like Nikki is still driving and she's had her setbacks in her life with injury, and Michelle is not only still driving, but one of the most feared trainers of trotters in New Zealand. So when you see that come through, it's now to the stage where if you were a young horse person and you said, I want to have a career in harness racing, you'd look at this list and you'd think, okay,
I can do this.
Exactly, I can do this. And with the Teal Pants campaign at the moment, Greg, it's wonderful to think that people are saying, look, this isn't just part of the industry. this is a legitimate career option for young females in this country.
Yep, I agree, totally. Wonderful list that is there. Clearly Natalie Rasmussen hasn't been here, she's only been here about 6 seasons now. So she's got there very, very quickly, and her strike rate's amazing.
If we ranked it on money, she'd be on top.
Yes, yeah. Joe Herbert, come back. Come back, Joe. You'd be more than welcome. She was a very good reins person. Yes.
Just talking about Nikki, we don't talk a lot about Nikki on the show because she doesn't tend to have a lot of horses winning big races at Alexandra Park. She had a horse win the other day with Juice Brogdon. Yep. What a tremendous career she's had. And it's nowhere near being finished, but 600 and whatever that was, 23.
Yep.
Gee, that's a lot of winners.
It is a lot of winners.
It's a lot of winners, and she also trains, obviously. She doesn't get valuable, high-priced stock into the barn. So for her to rack up that many winners, it's actually an amazing number. Yep. So, this is also about her and about all those female drivers out there who are doing such a great job. And for the Teal Pants campaign that finishes at Reefton on Sunday, it's raised a lot of money for ovarian cancer.
They've got some
research.
great ideas there Sunday through Courtney at Harness Racing New Zealand. You can go online, have a look.
Well, you can dress in teal.
That's it.
I'm not sure how much teal clothing there is in the op shops at Reefton, but they've
got some good prizes.
Sell out this
about
week.
$1,500 worth of prizes there, so good luck to them.
Yeah, and to all those young females out there who are watching the show, first of all, why the hell are you watching the box seat? And secondly, good luck to you. I hope you do get involved in the industry because it was really heartening for that kids' carts the other day, Greg, to see all these young, beaming female faces looking back who are out there and they're competing against the boys on a level playing field, which you cannot do in many sports.
And many of these females, the ones we put up on that list before, the likes of Michelle, Kirsten Barclay, obviously Joe Herbert, they have become mothers as well, Nicole Melander, so they're juggling life, aren't they, and doing it in fine style.
Emma Stewart's got a 2-year-old daughter she brings to Menangle.
I saw
in
it at
Melton.
Menangle, yeah.
It's actually pretty funny, and she's got no chance in life, that poor little kid. She will be in harness racing for life. But I'm glad we get to celebrate it this month with so many milestones, which ironically led into not only Michelle and Nikki winning at Alexandra Park, but Natalie Rasmussen. It's just these days, she won a Group 1, that's just normal.
And that was, of course, the Pascoes, the Jewellers, Northern Oaks. Well, here was the start of the race, and the biggest threat for most for Ali Mack was, of course, Better Joy, but this happened at the start, which, well, it was just unfortunate.
Well, it sort of ruined the race, didn't it, really, because there's Ali Mack spearing out to just get handy, and there's Better Joy gone. And for me, Greg, the race ended there. I know I shouldn't say it ended, but as a punting contest, this just felt like it was over right now. And Dizzy Miss Lizzie had to go do some work in the middle stages, which I don't think is her go. And round about here, it was a question of how big's the margin going to be. The answer was quite a bit. Here's Aaron White for the first Group 1 of Oaks and Derby week, and then we'll hear from Natalie Rasmussen.
4 Group 1s at Alexandra Park, and she powers away with the Pascoes, the Jewellers, Northern Oaks, All Stars, Quinella with Delight, and Me Gold Orchid third.
Natalie, that's 4 Group 1s here for Alexandra Park for her. She races well anywhere, but especially good here.
Yeah, she does seem to thrive up here for some reason, maybe just coming up in a small team and going this way around. She just seems to really just love it.
Natalie, it's a race that's got away on you a couple of times. You've been close in it, but to win it tonight for Jean Feast, who's on course, that's got to make it even more special.
Oh, very much so, yeah. Jeannie just loves her horses, and, Sicario won earlier for her, and now this little filly, this one's just honest as anything. And Jean just sort of really wanted the horse to win for her, not for Jean herself, but more for the horse.
Natalie, the most important factor was early in the race. Were you aware that Better Joy was taken out of play?
Yeah, I did have a good look around because I saw all them ones galloping and just to see where they all ended up, and I saw Dexter way out the back. So, you like to win these big races, but you'd prefer everyone to get their chance. You do feel sorry for Connections for her.
She is an outstanding filly, though. She's got a lot ahead of her, but she's got herself another Group 1, so congratulations to you.
Thank you, Greg.
And Better's Delight, 1, 2, 3, 4 there, Michael. Look, 3:24, probably, well, it was definitely one of the slowest in the last 10 years. And overall, I guess it brought Better Joy back into it, because when we looked at it, running 4th, you thought, wow, that was an amazing performance. But at that speed, she probably had every right to catch up, really.
Let's be honest, it was boring.
Yeah.
It was a boring Oaks. And that's no one's fault. Natalie's job is to win the race, Ali Mack's job is to win the race, and they did that very easily. But had Better Joy been in the race and come around and sat parked at the 800, it would have been relatively exciting. I'm sure it was interesting if you backed the winner or if you owned the winner, but for most punters at home, it was just a procession. And
you only have to go fast enough to win it. She's 7 from 12 now, 4-time Group 1 winner, all at the park, couple of size stakes and a Caduceus.
It's really hard to work out how good she is, because when she wins like this, you think, wow, she's really good. But the second horse probably isn't that good, and Better Joy is out of the race. And then she had that thing at the back of autumn last year where she got beaten fair and square.
Not once, but a couple of times by Dizzy Miss Lizzie.
And you sort of go, I think maybe she's the best of this crop, but I don't know. And I haven't seen enough evidence because they keep bouncing around between each other. Maybe she is. She's got a lot ahead of her because she'll be Breeders' Crown eligible, so she can race through to August. And more, I'm thinking, Greg, that that's the best thing to do with these 3-year-old fillies, because there's just nothing for them at 4. Just race them. Race them, and much like the galloping people, if they have a really big 3-year-old season, unless they adore me or the Orange Agent, just retire them.
Yep, speaking of the Orange Agent, Venus Serena, they've been the only couple in the last 8 years to have stopped the All-Stars juggernaut. But let's hear about those, or from those, who were just in behind the winner. Tim, as we know, it's often about right place, right time, and she was in the right place.
Yeah, that's dead right, Greg. Obviously, yeah, we had a nice run, but you know, full credit to the winner. She was too good on the night.
You never looked like catching her, but you beat the others just as easily, and she's a progressive type. She might not be to Ali Mack's level at this stage, but she's only going to get better.
Yeah, no, that's right. She's done a super job for a filly. You know, only qualified at the start of this prep, and you know, to come through and do that tonight, you know, we're you know, super proud of what she's done and what she's doing. You know, the way she keeps improving, and you know, to take that next step again tonight to add another Group 1 placing, you know, to her, it's going to stand her in great stead for later on.
Well, Tony, that only enhances her broodmare value.
Yeah, no, she's doing a good job, and she's a nice, honest little filly, and you know, she's got room to get a bit stronger too. We're a bit lucky early with that skirmish. I nearly was involved there, but I was a bit lucky to get through that. So after that, it was all a bonus.
Yep. Well, Group 1 placing certainly a real bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it certainly was, and she probably deserves it. But yeah, and hopefully just go on with it a bit as she gets a bit older.
Well, it's going to be hard to watch, isn't it?
Well, it is, Greg, but it's racing, and it does happen, unfortunately. So, you know, we're the bear of it tonight, but you know, we'll bounce back from that. Her run afterwards was, you know, really happy with her. So she's just winding up late too, and she's recovered. Looks like she's recovered pretty well after it too. So yeah, could be more happy with the horse's performance. Just unlucky in the run.
Yeah, you just got to take all the positives out of it, and you know, the way she found the line. There's still a lot to look forward to this season.
Yeah, and that, you know, luckily there's a bit more for her this season. So yeah, it's only one race for the season. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. So yeah, we'll bounce back and press on for the rest of the season.
Blair, on the face of it, disappointing?
Yeah, for sure, Greg. You know, we got round when we needed to and travelled good at the 500, but by the 400, you know, dropped the bid and it was pretty much game over for us. So hopefully Nigel can get it back, and you know, we might just have to look at driving her, you know, how she was driven when she was winning it too. So fingers crossed, mate.
So that was Blair Orange. Spoke to Nigel McGrath earlier this week about, well, could we find anything as a result of her poor performance? He said no. So get her back home, try and get her sorted out, and set her for those, you know, those really good races, the Oaks and the Neville are, and horses like Better Joy. She could be making her way right through to the Breeders' Crown as well. So it is a big season. Yeah,
look, we didn't send any of our best fillies to the New South Wales Oaks, and we're not sending our best fillies to the Victoria and Oaks Eve, which is coming up shortly. Sociable's actually going there.
Yes.
So who won last week at Alexandra Park, and won like a pretty good horse. It's going there. So it might be a second stringer, but it's in a camp where they love a trip. So good on them.
Yeah,
exactly right. So they'll have a great time regardless. These fillies, because they're not heading there, have the Neville R series, then the Oaks, then the Jewels. Again, you get the feeling that this could bounce around a few different ways. You put Better Joy in front of Ali Mack in the barrier draws, and I think Better Joy starts favourite most times, and vice versa. So it could really be barrier draw reliant. It's hard to make a case that Better Joy accepted. Anything else back in that field is going to catch up though. So that big 2, which might be a big 3, pretty much at the moment looks set in stone. Yep,
it does. We're about to take a break here on your box seat. Shout out though, a couple of people sent us some feedback. Pete Bradley, thanks for that. I know you're watching, tuning in every week. I know you're enjoying the show and information, and we thank you for your feedback. And to Bruce Ireland. Now, Bruce is well known in the Canterbury region, gets around most of the racetracks. He's 60 this year. Saw him at Addington Raceway on Sunday. He said, shout out to me, give me a shout out. So there you go, Bruce.
Same age as you.
Yeah, very good. Back shortly. Year history of the Woodlands Northern Derby. It goes on the line again on Friday night. We will have a look now at the Derby prelude. Because
is it the 100th one?
102nd.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot.
That's a lot of derbies, and here was the key lead-up race to it. Sicario, who we'd only seen once in New Zealand previously, and Chase Auckland, Michael, we've seen a lot of.
And Chase Auckland was favourite, and that didn't work out very well.
No, it did not. Sheriff getting into third there. Actually thought it was a pretty good run here from American Brave, making good ground, and he comes up with a much better barrier draw on Friday night. A horse that you've had, you know, a lot of respect for some time. Is he good enough?
I think he's a good horse, but I think he's best driven with one run, and that doesn't tend to be the way to win the Derby. Well, for the Derby, this is a pretty obvious thing to say. Just think of the Oaks last week, but with boys.
Yeah.
Because so often the Derbies are won by horses up against the marker pegs. We emphasised that last week heading into the Oaks. It's just so hard to sit parked or even in the running line in any capacity going around 5 bends, which is what they do.
What did this prelude mean, though? I mean, Sicario, we never saw that coming. I didn't see him leading. Chase Auckland sitting outside him, not being able to get past him.
Especially this
hadn't raced since August.
Gap. He hadn't raced for a long, long time, but before August.
Yeah.
Look, he's obviously a very good horse, and I think if he was drawn to lead again, then he'd be a danger, but he's not drawn to lead again. He's going to need to come from back in the field, and how could he possibly come around Chase Auckland and beat him on that run? He was at least as good, but Chase Auckland was probably slightly better, and should, of these horses, have a chance of going forward and potentially getting the lead. Let's see what the drivers had to say, then talk tactics as the prelude becomes the Derby.
Mark, that was a pretty good racetrack return to New Zealand for this horse.
Yes, look, he's raced the best last season in Australia, Greg, and I didn't know whether he'd be just quite up to doing what he did tonight, but not that he surprised me, but he's certainly well forward.
And on the markers here at the park, when you haven't been here, it certainly helps, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right. I left the gate nicely. He's got that good turn of foot early and took advantage of a sort of a front-running position.
And with natural improvements, got to be a heck of a hard horse to beat next week then.
Yeah, well, he's come on the scene at the right time, and the distance won't worry him next week, and I'm sure he'll derive a lot of benefit out of tonight's run.
Well, Natalie, just missing that one trial may have been the difference here.
Yeah, definitely. Like, they're both in the same category, you know, they both needed the run. My guys had a really good blow afterwards, so just wanted to go pretty, you know, I didn't want to kill him tonight knowing where he's at. I know he really needed that trial last week, and he's quite a big boy now, so yeah, I'm sure he'll be a lot better next week.
Natalie got off the markers, first time for a wee while for him in a race, but at the end of the day, it probably didn't make that much difference.
No, I thought he was very good. I know we sort of just, they didn't feel to be going that quick, you know, so it was just nice steady run and a good sprint home. Just probably what he needed, you know, probably just what he lacked last week.
Blair, in terms of a Derby trial, they don't go a lot better than that.
Yeah, pretty happy, Greg. You know, he got a nice run and then get knocked around, and you know they dashed a really nice quarter, but you know he's hit the line very strong and carried on with it after the finish. So you know he'll be a better horse next week.
We know 2700 is going to be right up his alley. What does he need to be able to win a Derby and give Nigel his first?
Yeah, he needs a little bit of luck to go his way, Greg, but in saying that, you know, he's got enough to make a run around them, and if need be. So, you know, in saying everything, I think he's got enough to make his own luck, but there's a couple of the others maybe need some bad luck.
So I thought his run out of that prelude, they got home in 26.7, so effectively if you were taking any ground off the first two, it was going to look pretty good. I thought his, and now the barrier draw, the way it's come out, gives him a chance.
Let's look at the market because it's got the barrier draw as part of it. Sheriff of the place getters last week is the best drawn, and I spoke to Nigel McGrath this week, and Nigel was by no means shirking the challenge of the All-Stars, not just for this race, just in life. He took as many yearlings home from the sales as they did.
We bought 16, I think it was, yeah.
And he said, look, if we get in front, I'd like to stay there. Now, if Sheriff jumped to the lead, and there's no guarantee he would, but if he did and handed up to Chase Auckland, do you think he would run second? But if you own Sheriff, did you buy a horse to run second in the Derby, or did you buy a horse to try and win the Derby? And that's the question of the race, because if Chase Auckland stomps around to the lead, he'll probably win. I'm not tremendously excited about taking $1.35 to find out, but that's the question of the race for me. What about you?
Yeah, he's had a couple of placings in Derby. I think Anvil's Top Gun ran a placing. Was that behind Sushi? I think it might have been. And Classic Brigade obviously copped Lazarus. I give him a chance of beating Chase Auckland. Chase Auckland's still clearly the one to beat. His form through the Sire Stakes and the way he won that day. No, he got the right run, but he's been at the top of the tree. But him getting beaten last week just gives you that little bit of an inkling that...
What do we make of Zaccaria? Because Zaccaria is obviously very, very good. I don't think any of us quite know how to rate him because we saw so little of him in this country last year.
Yeah, well, the prelude, just being a sprint home, didn't tell me too much more. And I'm with you, he's likely to have to come around at least Chase Auckland, Sheriff, and maybe Pat's Delight, who we haven't even talked about. I mean, he was great beating AG's White Sox. He was very, very good at the park a couple of weeks ago, but he's got barrier 8, so where does he end up in the run?
Well, I spoke to Cran about that at length last night, and he said, look, we have to go back at the start. He said, if he was the best 3-year-old in the race, we can roll the dice and go forward expecting to bully them. He said, but we're not the best 3-year-old in the race, so we can't afford to do that. And it's a long season. There's lots of other things coming up. So he's going back at the start. Well, if he goes back at the start, Chase Auckland runs to the lead, he can't beat him. If Chase Auckland and Sheriff, which I don't think is going to happen, get into a war, then he comes into play. It's a very, very hard Derby for him to win. As we saw last year, Rakapukarula led. Leading or being on the marker pegs in these derbies and these oaks, and in fact any staying race at Alexandra Park is enormously beneficial, enormously so. And if you're ever going to back a horse to come away from that pattern and win, you better think it's the best horse in the race by 5 lengths, because it doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not. The Diamond Creek New Zealand Derby is the second big Group 1 for the 3-year-olds in 2018, and here is the latest of the payments to be made, Michael. So I suppose the question here is, there's 28 or 29 of them there. We've only got 9 going around in the Northern Derby, so the likes of the Bus, he's headed to a Nugget final on Saturday. More about that race meeting shortly, but there's a few missing.
Well, here's a quick list of who's missing, and you could hold 2 Northern Derbies this week as we leave these on screen for you. We could hold 2 Northern Derbies, and this other one could be the ones who aren't there Derby. Spankham is not there. Ashley Locas is not there. In fact, the first 8 horses home in the Jewels last year are not in this Derby, which is quite remarkable. Also, King of Swing, the Breeders' Crown champion, is not there. Ocean Ridge isn't there. Some of these horses have been sold. All you need is faith. The Devil's Own, some of these horses got a virus or got injured. Spankham, I have no idea where he's disappeared to. Ashley Locas, I presume, got injured. I think it's just hard to keep up with them all. You could have a Derby of 9 horses who aren't there or who have been exported. The Dorchester, another one, very good horse. And it'll be as strong as the real Derby. Now, it says a lot for our depth that we still produce a very good Derby this week. Most of these horses will go to open class, but it also shows you the reality of 3-year-old racing. A, it's hard, and B, if you owned, and I'll just pick a horse at random, Ocean Ridge. If you owned Ocean Ridge and someone said, I'm going to buy that off you for, and I don't know what they purchased it for, but 200 or 250 grand. you got to think to yourself, would I win 250 grand with Ocean Ridge? And you might.
He might in his career.
Yeah,
but he certainly wouldn't as a 3-year-old.
You might. But am I better off taking that money now? And it depends on what stage of life you're probably at, and why you're racing horses and how many are in a horse. If it's a syndicate of 100, you probably keep going. If you own it by yourself, 200 or whatever it might be.
200 drops in.
So people often think this is a handicapping problem, and a lot of people tell me this, well, it's just the handicapping system stuff. But the handicapping system actually doesn't affect the 3-year-olds that badly, because if they wanted to, they could effectively race against their own age group for the entire season, if you wanted to, if you're good enough, to a degree. What affects it is the economy. I mean, and the second factor is this, and this is a very prevalent factor, and some people don't like it, but it's still a factor. People look at it and go, I can't pick Mark and Natalie. They can't. And the reality is, sometimes they can't. Some can. King of Swing did at the Breeders' Crown, but they're the reasons we are losing so many horses from this. And when you take the list of horses who aren't going to be at Alexandra Park this week, it doesn't take away from the Derby, because it's always a great race. But if you put 5 of those back in there, we would have a race which would be the highlight of the racing week in Auckland, even including Ellerslie. So you do miss out a little bit of it, but I don't see, Greg, to be honest, that changing anytime soon.
Well, the recent yearling sales would indicate probably not. Anyway, moving along to our Young Guns segment now, and having a look at last week's final heat. Here we go. Here's the All-Stars getting beaten, because Barry Purdon did the business with this horse, Supreme Dominator. He's just getting better, Michael.
Yeah, he is, and he's bred to be a good horse. There's Jesse Duke back in the field, and things just didn't go his way, which favourite punters would not have enjoyed. But when you see them hit the line like this, it's quite a nice bit of spread in this crop. Barry's got a couple of nice ones. Ray Green, who also had a really successful yearling sales, has got a couple of nice ones. Brent Mangos has got a couple in there too. So there's a lot of people there who have talent enough to press forward. You do think that Jesse Duke's probably the best of them?
Yeah, I spoke to Mark straight after the race about that, and he said, look, he just got unbalanced around that last bend, and as you know, the last bend at Alexandra Park is the most tricky, and it was only his second race day appearance, so he just got, you know, off keel and rolled into a gallop, as you can see there, runner number 7. I think he'll be better this week. I expect him to be better, and therefore he's the one to beat.
Barry's had a really strong last 5 years at the yearling sales, probably the last 7 or 8 years. He's bought really well, going back to maybe Sky Major, Cheer the Lady, but
that Cheer, this is the same family.
Yeah, exactly right. And last year he had Mark Shard, who was one of the better 2-year-olds,
and won the Young Guns final.
Yeah, exactly right. So he's buying horses who are in the game. Now they're not always going to win, because there's only so many Group 1s to go around, but if you'd said to him 8 years ago, you will have a strike rate like you're having at the yearling sales, he would take it every day of the week. It's been absolutely outstanding. And there's no, obviously, reason to even talk about his training ability. He is the Hall of Fame trainer and our most successful ever trainer. So this week, things become tougher for him. He has Star of Montana and Supreme Dominator.
I thought Star of Montana was 3 wide, did a great job.
A well-purchased and a lovely horse, but this is tougher this week because they're in the middle of the pack, but they still have some tactical advantage, draw-wise, over Jesse Duke. I think Jesse Duke might be the best of them. I'm not sure. You get the feeling he might be, but I also think he's not that natural, clean-gated, wow all-stars youngster, which we sometimes see. So I don't think he's going to just run the table on these horses. I think last week showed that, and $1.60 this week, I wouldn't be jumping into that.
No, and the Barrier 8 horse, a better act, I actually thought he was quite good as well. It'd be very hard for him out there, but he wouldn't be without a chance. So that's the Brecon Farms Young Guns, that one. And of course, here is the Cardigan Bay Stakes in terms of the lead up to this one. Princess Tiffany, they don't go a whole lot better than this first up at the races, coming wide at Alexandra Park.
Look, I thought she was good. I thought the runner-up was good, and I thought the third horse was good. I thought, you know, these, obviously after that you start to Shanghai, but even the fourth horse was running on really well. I thought the winner, yes, on points, but I was just as happy with the second horse going forward, and Kendra worked really hard down the back straight. So, look, any one of those three could have drawn barriers 1, 2 or 3 this week and gone around as close to favourite, but Princess Tiffany is the one who did draw the best of the barriers, and she will start the favourite. I didn't think it was $1.75 versus $4.20 victory for me. I thought the second horse
was good.
Was it not? I wouldn't say at least as good, but close enough to as least as good. I can't understand why Kendra's 380 inside bubbled up at 420.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
No,
to me.
I would have thought, and don't get me wrong, that's not potting Kendra. She's obviously a lovely filly, but she now has an enormous job in front of her with two stablemates inside her who, you know, are going to make life hard for her, to be honest.
Yep.
Nice enough filly in here, Cheesy Fingers, who we haven't seen in the lead-up races. Typical Brian Gareth Hughes trained horse. Wouldn't surprise to see it turn up and run third in the Group 2 race this one, I think it is. So, but yeah, really, really hard to make the case past the All-Stars, but I thought Bubbled Up was better value. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I can't go past Princess Tiffany's performance out of Dancing Diamonds, who we know was a very good filly. So there's a lot of ticks there, and the same barrier draw. And yeah, I think she'll be the one to beat. I don't know about taking the real shot odds about her. That's with Crombie Lockwood, of course. They're the sponsor of that. The free-for-all race, the Founders on Friday night, was a race in two. We expected that. Gee, burnt hard Jack's Legend early. He was very brave, but Star Galleria, he might have just started to live up to what the hype was earlier on in his career. I think he is now, yeah.
We've been waiting for replacement horses to come through, with Vincent and Ultimate Machete getting injured, and these two are very different types of horses to them, but they are ample replacements. Fast, very fast. Jack's Legend has high gate speed. Star Galleria uses it less often, but it still has it. I think they have this week's race at their mercy, but vastly different barrier draw this week. So here's Star Galleria. What we didn't see in this video is the fact they burned really hard early, Greg, and that probably didn't undo Jack's Legend, but made him vulnerable. And Star Galleria outpointed him fair and square, but this week's a different kettle of fish. This week's the City of Auckland free-for-all. Jack's Legend has barrier 1 and should lead for fun, because he had to really burn that first 400 3 wide. I reckon if he leads this week, he'll be hard to beat. Let's go back to the drivers from last week and see what the big names out of the Founders made of the lead up to this week's City of Auckland free-for-all.
Well, I reckon 9 times out of 10, you give that horse that run, he'll win.
Yeah, he's got some really high speed, and even though they ran off the front at 26 something, he was still good enough to come 3 wide at the top of the straight and catch Jack's Legend, who's obviously no slug, and he had to do a bit of work early, Jack's Legend, but yeah, no, he tracked up really nice, and first run for a wee while, so it'll do him no harm, and no, he seems to have just got better and better, perhaps with a bit of time, and Stephen's given him a bit of time just to keep strengthening, so far so good, Greg.
Yeah, that's been the key to him, hasn't it? Being patient with him, and it's certainly standing to him right now.
Yeah, well, he's got quite a big frame for a horse, and you know, and he's just sort of starting to fill it out now, and he's sort of hit the line really good there tonight.
Should be some cracking 4-year-old contests over the next couple of months.
Yeah, no, it looks good on paper, so hopefully we're right in amongst it.
Just enough that early burn, wasn't it?
Yeah, had to do a little bit that first sort of 400 or 500, and probably just saw him out that last 50 metres, but the one I had to beat got a beautiful run, and that's the way it goes. Like I said before, there's probably not a lot between them, and comes down to the run at the end of the day, but we're still right with him, and he should come forward off that.
Blair, she's been in wonderful form, and she's just continued that here.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Brad and Mel have done a super job with her, and you know, they had some fun times in Aussie with her, and you know, she put her foot on the toe over there, which was great, and you know, travelled back here and got a good race behind 2 very nice cup horses. So you know, it's a good race for her next week, Greg. So you know, she's going to be competitive again.
And of course, Delishka will take her place in race number 4, it's the Magnus Benro Northern Classic, and she'll be very hard to beat from that, even from the outside. Utmost Delight, who won the Group 1 Breeders at Addington, takes on the boys here, as does Joe's Dream, who of course was Group 1 winner, equal with Party On during the December Carnival. But 250, I reckon you might be half interested in that, Michael.
Yeah, I think so. I think Jack's Legend leads. Joe's Dream might have a look, but I think Jack's Legend will lead. And then if he leads easily, Zach can maybe manipulate the race a bit more. So Star Galleria just might be too quick for him, but I don't think it's just that cut and dried. I'll be keen to back Jack's Legend. 250's close enough to the mark, because I think the tote prices will play out comparable to that, but he could start around 230. I don't think there's a lot between these two horses. I think Star Galleria has that rare change-up speed only very good horses have, and that can get out of trouble quite often. But this type of racing at Alexandra Park, if he has to come sit parked, it's a different kettle of fish. So I think maybe Jack's Legend gets a really good chance this week to reverse it. But when you consider where they were this time last year, because Jack's Legend won the Jewels and Star Galleria...
Well, he went off the rails after his size
Exactly. And we all started to go, maybe, you know.
But Reedman never lost the faith.
No, he's really come back. And talking about Stephen Reedman, with utmost delight recently, Rain Man the other day, a lot of people in harness racing are happy to see Reedman back winning because he's been through some tough times and the team's a lot smaller than it used to be. I spoke to him about that and he said, look, I've only got a small team, means I can train them the way I want to rather than rushing through them. So it's been a really good reminder in the last month what a talented horseman he is. So look, if you're out there and you've got a horse from the sales you took home and you thought, what am I going to do with it? You could do worse than send it to Stephen Reed because you will get that hands-on management because there's just not many horses there.
No, correct. Let's have a look at Delishka taking on the mares, and she's come up $3. She's got the wide draw, courtesy of what she's been doing in the last 6 weeks, which her performances in Australia, she won the Siberia, of course, was Group 1 placed only a couple of weeks ago, and then took on the boys last week.
On paper, she would win this, but gee, it's going to be a tricky race.
It's a good race, isn't it?
There's a lot of gate speed, and there's horses here who are belligerent and won't get out of each other's way. In fact, every horse on the front line, outside probably Step Up, has some real gate speed. If you go back over the mares races, not just in New Zealand, Australasian-wide this season, they've almost all been won by different horses. It's incredible. Like in New Zealand, it's been 1 week something will win, and then the next week it gets well beaten. I don't know who the best mare in the country racing is, because obviously Better Be Amazed being retired, Dream About Me, I don't know if we'll ever see her again, I just don't know. The Orange Agent isn't back yet. So they've been very confusing puzzles.
But great contests.
Exactly, which goes back to something we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Why are we not having mares free-for-alls every second week? Preferential barrier draw at Addington or Alexandra Park. Because if I own a really good mare, I don't want to be racing the boys. It's just too tough. It's too tough to be racing even the 3-year-old boys. Why do we not program these? And I know the trainers may not support them, but at least if we program them and the trainers don't support them, we can go, what's your darn fault? But at the moment, Greg, the fact that everywhere else in the world, and including our own galloping community, you can race mares against mares all the time if you're that way inclined. But here in New Zealand, we don't. I reckon we should roll the dice on it, and as I said, I'll get a funny feeling it may not be supported well enough, but preferential barrier draw 1950 mares races, and at Ashburton and Cambridge, to just ram these consistently mares mile races to keep bringing those mile times down, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're about to go to a break here on your box seat. One of the features out of Friday night, of course, was the Sims Pacific Metals Northern Breeders' Stakes. It was won by, well, the trotting stable you need to follow in the north. It is the Michelle Wallace and Bernie Hackett team, and they managed to Quinella it. One got disqualified going through on the markers. Tony Cameron caught 450 there with Princess McCandon, but it was Majestic Ali making it win 6 in her career.
Well, Caitlin surprised Princess McCandon, dashing it down the outside. Majestic Ali. Oh, Princess McCandon's going to get it. We're going to hear more though.
Let's nip across the Tasman. Shadow Sachs actually won the Cranbourne Cup over the weekend, but we need to go back to Friday night. Menangle, the Pink Bonnet, the horse that finished third in the Sapling, was Platinum Revolution, actually bred by the McNamaras, and his good friend the man they call Guzza, Aaron Goadsby. Platinum Revolution made it 2 from 3. Very keen to come to the Harness Jewels is Team Tritton, not the first time that they've done that. 154.7, she won this very well. She sat parked and did a power of work and was simply too good, and I'd like to see her at Cambridge. I think she'd run a bit of time there too, so let's hope she can make her way over there. And of course Shane does such a good job with the media too. A couple of 4-year-old mares, one we know very well, Delightful Memphis, 151.5, Michael. She's now 5 from 9 in Australia and up over 300,000, and they are very keen to bring her to the Jewels too.
Well, that raises a really interesting question, because she is now trained in Australia. So can she get an Australian invite? I would suggest she probably can. She hasn't been racing here this season. So, look, Mark Jones has an Australian operation, and if a horse is racing there, it should be, I would suggest, eligible for that Australian invite to the Jewels.
Well, we've seen it before with Mr Mojito. That's what happened.
Well, and that horse has been there longer and more legitimately. Here's Razor Grunter, who, as we know, had a solid career in New Zealand. And this is a typical Team Tritton horse. Gets to the front. And
solid career in New Zealand. She won like 2 or 3 races. She's now 7 from 10 in Australia.
A lot more solid than Australia.
152.6, and she's got really good gate speed, and she might be eligible too, and maybe it's between her and Delightful Memphis as to who gets the invite.
I think Delightful Memphis will be getting the grab. The other horses who are in play for those Australian invites, it's a long way away. Jillaby Kung Fu is still an option, of course, and Wobbly, who races again at Melton on Saturday night. They're talking about the potential to come here for a hit and run with him. He's very, very, very good.
As we know, Michael, last week we caught up with Tim Butt. It was pre the Miracle Mile, which they won with Myfield Marshall, and this is part 2 now for you, where I talked to Tim about other ownership opportunities that have arisen by going over the Tasman. Have there been a few interested, or is that still evolving?
Oh, definitely a few interested, and still evolving as well. But, it was a shrinking market in New Zealand, the ownership and just the population and the interest in the game, I think. And, here people are brought up on the Melbourne Cup and the gamblers from day one. The kids watch it at their schools, so they know about racing, they know about punting. So, and 6 million people live in New South Wales, so you just got that bigger pool of people to call on.
What about the younger horses? It appears to me that a going type of horse in a barn like this is far more, well, I suppose applicable, because developing young stock like you would have done back in New Zealand, it doesn't seem to be a part of the operation here.
No, it's a different scene. There's not many 2-year-olds get trained out of here, but I want to change that actually in my psyche. The trainers here are quite happy because the horses can earn. So if they have a 3-win horse, he may earn 4,000 or 5,000 a month. But it lends you to not find that great horse, So I'm looking to sort of develop the young ones as well, and hopefully find another field marshal.
You're back in New Zealand at the yearling sale. I know you, as a vendor, as well as looking at other stock, and the sales here are upon us too. So getting new blood into the barn is a very, very important job,
we bought
isn't it?
2 bidders of like colts down in Melbourne, 25,000 and 35,000, well priced, perfectly correct and nice horses. So it's a continual battle to get nice stock into your barn. Well, not a battle, but a continual work in progress, and that's something that we've always been good at. Finding that good horse, and we'll continue to buy out in New Zealand, and we've got some nice horses coming over. After dinner, Speaker's just arrived, and he raced not so well the first day because he just arrived, but geez, he's really settle in, and he's going to be a really nice horse, so I think he might surprise a few people.
Not easy to come to the track, Menangle, for the first time. Often it takes a horse at least one look. That must change the way that you develop these horses and educate them to handle the mile, because there's no back off.
No, it's probably one of the toughest environments in the world. They're going better times than they go at the Middlelands now, you know what I mean? So the horses have got to be trained different, they've got to be looked after different, and space their races a little bit, and so on and so on. So it's not like the circuit racing that we may have had back in New Zealand, like the Nelson and the Blenheims, but as I said, I think it's one of the best spectacles and one of the best challenges training in the world.
What about driver-wise? For so many years, your brother Anthony, who, as we know, has exceeded all expectations from what he's been able to do in Victoria, a change in his life as well. Who do you use, say, during the week or when he's not in this state?
Yeah, well, Chris Gary's come to work for me in the mornings, and I really like him as a horseman. He's got really good hands, you know, and he's kind with the horses, and he's my sort of driver. I'm going to sort of help develop him tactically and those sort of things. And, you know, I think in 4 or 5 years he could be one of the leading drivers in New South Wales. I see that potential in him. And, you know, it's just a matter of working through it. It's not an easy place to drive at, because where you draw is sort of where you end up. You either go out to the front or you go back. So it's so tough if you come wide. So, you know, it's not an easy place to drive at.
And you're still using Anthony, particularly around the big races, which is, again, got to be a huge asset.
Oh, without doubt, you know, especially in Australia. And the owners are keen to have him on in the big races, and Chris knows the situation, so he's happy to drive when Anthony's not here. So, no, I'm pretty lucky in that regard, really.
And your wife, Andrea, or Andy, as she's better known around the stables, and of course, Riley. I know Reese has been here, so it really has become a family operation. Maybe something that you didn't see coming probably a couple of decades ago anyway.
Well, we had such a big setup at home with staff, and Andrew was bringing up the kids and so forth, and you know, and you just go from one year to the next. You know, sometimes we had 50 horses in work and 10 staff and those sort of things. But now it's more hands-on, and Andrew's really enjoying it, you know, so she's starting to nominate a few, and it won't be long before we get her on trackside, I wouldn't think.
Might have to wait a wee while, I'm thinking. You've still got your base back in New Zealand. Johnny Cox is obviously running that side of thing. What's the likely progress of that? What's the plan, or is it not set in stone?
We'll go through to August, the first of the new season, to see how things pan out. But everything's working out pretty good. It's more to, you know, give my owners an opportunity to keep horses in New Zealand. Like Sid Brown still wants to race horses in New Zealand, so, you know, give them the bite of both cherries. But you know, Johnny's an accomplished horseman, and he's really at a hiding to nothing when he comes in and takes over from us, sort of thing. So I'm pleased with the setup so far, and you know, they've just got to keep working away and do their best.
Tim, they've got a handful of winners so far, including winning on Premier Night with Bushido the other night for Sid and Shona Brown. So that must have been you know, a really pleasing moment, not only for Johnny but for you as well.
It was really, because I think the horse has actually improved, Craig. You know,
yeah.
So they've got him racing consistently. They found a little bit of a trick to him, if there is one. You know what I mean? So, you know, he doesn't lack for horsemanship. You just need the horses coming in the gate. You know what I mean? So and it's a big thing when you take over 30 horses and you're working all through that. So there's added pressures as well. So you just got to deal with those and get on with it.
Tim, you seem energised. You seem not that you weren't back in New Zealand, but this seems to have really lifted your attitude. And is that a fair statement?
Oh, without doubt, Greg. You know, as I said, we had a great run in New Zealand, and you know, when you win a New Zealand Cup, flashing red, and you take all your mates back to your own bar and celebrate, well, they're special times. But I just felt those special times might have been coming to an end in New Zealand for me, and over here, you know, the phone's been going at least twice a week with opportunities to train for people and things like that. So that wasn't happening in New Zealand anymore, and yeah, it gives you a bit of a buzz. And you know, we'll take any horse. We don't care if it's a roughie or whatever. We'll relish the challenge. So you know, I think, you know, people have been a bit surprised at some of the horses I have taken, and they've raced well. So, but as I said, we're happy to train anything.
Exciting times ahead then.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, you still got to work hard at it, and you've only been here 3 months, but you know, we've got a pretty good strike rate, and you know, the horses look well, and I'm happy with the way the condition of the horses, so that's a big plus.
So that was great to catch up with Tim Butt. Daryl Boko goes around Friday night at Menangle. In one race here, there's Rockaban Whitaker, Franco Nelson, that's race 5, and Delightful Memphis in race 6. So plenty of interest across the Tasman. Speaking of cups, let's go back to the Cheviot Cup on Sunday, won by Don Domingo. Very good run from the bus. That's him hitting the lead. Blair Orange in the middle, 3 back, 1 out. He decides to find a path, pick a path through, and Don Domingo, well, he's just in terrific form. Wins again. He's won the Christmas Cup at Moch Carrara, the Oamaru Cup, and now the Cheviot Cup, and his last 100 was exceptional here. He's now 7 from 22. That was one of 2 features at Addington on Sunday. The other was Dracares winning the Leonard Memorial Stakes. Now, the All-Stars have won 3 out of the last 5. Just Mark Purden's second winning drive in that race. He won it with top tempo back in 2006. Only a little wee filly, but she was very good. We'll get Mark Mack to bring her home.
Strongly, Kayla Marie's coming again from Dracaris. 4 chances here. Kayla Marie's come back through strongly. Dracaris is a neck away. Kayla Marie still ahead. Dracaris coming now, and Dracaris will beat Kayla Marie. She was gallant. Third over Olivia Rachel.
So they were on Sunday. Over the week as well were both the Taranaki and Stratford Cups, and Ron Richardson and Dylan Ferguson combined with Classy American that won the Otaki Cup. So it's won the Otaki, Taranaki and Stratford now, so congratulations to the connections there. You just get the impression with those 2-year-old fillies there though. Kayla Marie was very, very good. Drakari's a handy enough filly. The better ones are in the Young Guns final. Yeah, and those 3 go to Southland this week where they have a stunning meeting. Look, Auckland's really good on Friday night, but to be honest, the Southland meeting is almost as good. So Forbury Park is Thursday night. Good to see the circuit kicking back there. Pick 6. Obviously Westport have their Friday afternoon meeting, and well done to them getting their track back to something like normal after the recent weather. There it is, the big night for Alexandra Park. We'll be back with our good friend the Whale, and there's a whole bunch of races there and a whole bunch of money to be won. Bonus early quaddie for 20k being one of the key factors. Here's this meeting in Invercargill, Greg. This is a beauty, and looking at the fields, gee, they're good. Yeah, the quality of horse there. Buster Brady, more the better, who we'll have a look at the moment, the big boss. They've got some great promotions as well, an ownership promotion where you can come and have a whale of a time with the big fish up here just by nominating your horse. And yeah, they've got some really good ideas down there, and they've been rewarded. We've talked about that trotting oaks. I would like to be there. I'm not going to be at Ellerslie for the Derby, but I would like to be there. Yeah, Anangahua Grey Valley Cup. It's not the Derby, that was last week. What do you got this week at Ellerslie? The Cup, Auckland Cup. Auckland Cup. They all blend into one. Manawatu, they've got 8 races there on Tuesday. Well, it would do, Michael, because you've been quite busy. It's been a fun time. Yeah, it certainly has been. You've been finding us winners. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's have a look at more the better at the trials. My best bet of the week, and my apologies again, Alta Shelby team, they got absolutely hammered by me picking them last week. Here's more the better at the trials. He's your best bet of the week this week. Swamp Major is. Yep. I really like him. He's in the trail there. He's now with Regan Todd. He's had his problems. He gets to more the better here, who kicks back, but this is a good lead towards the Northern Southland Cup and Swamp Major going around in the last. He does take on Hale Christian, but I think both of these potentially could win on Saturday, but as you said, Michael, well done to the club there, putting together a magnificent program on Saturday. So Swamp Major for me in the last has a second row draw. Jack's Legend, you're labelling him as your best. Look, at premier meetings at Alexandra Park, or anywhere for that matter, if you can back a horse on the speed, do so, because they will win more races than the horses who are off the speed, which is the warning for more the better. Really hard, fresh up off a handicap. Doesn't matter who trains you. It's very cold in Canada at the moment, Michael. Have a look at that. That's like a weird Christmas post-race shot of a winner. Yeah, we don't sort of get those conditions here in New Zealand, but I've been there, Flamborough Downs. That was part of the circuit when Mark Jones won the World Drivers' Championship back in 2003. Busy old show. Looked lovely. Yeah, it will look a lot lovelier back in August, I can promise you that. Hey, well done to everybody involved in the Teal Pence campaign, people who have put these female drivers on their horses and got all this money for ovarian cancer research, Greg. Finishes on Sunday, and if you are in the Reefton region, which is a good chance you probably aren't, but we've got something Teal to the races that'll be quite a fun way to spend the day. Yeah, I think it'll be a great way to do that. That's been your box seat. We'll see you in 7 days' time to wrap up another wonderful Carnival of Auckland. Enjoy your harness racing week ahead.